Firearm storage is a good example. It's like, okay, great. I completely agree. Everybody should have firearm storage. But how are you going to enforce that? Does it mean a police officer is going to come in my house and find me for not having a gun in the right place? It's like, well, now we have Fourth Amendment problems. I mean, is the ATF, when we have, for example, private sales.
Do you really oppose safe firearm storage?
I think firearm storage should absolutely be encouraged, but I don't know.
90% approval
sure,
rating.
But what about enforcement? I mean, do you want a cop to be able to come in your house and check how your gun is stored? I absolutely
now Saagar cares about the cops enforcing laws unjustly when literally not even like a couple of years ago he was apologizing for them and defending them, brutalizing protesters in open air on camera. But now, I'm so concerned about the authoritarian, tyrannical police. Give me a break.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was like, oh, so it's okay for the police and the United States military to come after people's constitutional right to gather and protest, but it's not okay. And then also on top of that, Saagar, you could literally make that argument for anything about your house. Do you know how many things that it's illegal to do in your house? Oh, what? Do you want a police officer to just be able to come in your home and find out you're cooking meth in the basement? Oh, what? Do you want a police officer to be able to come inside your home and find out that you've got 18 abducted children down there? Oh, what? Do you want the police officer to be able to come in your home and find out that you've been enriching uranium in your fucking silo? All these kinds of things. You could make that, you could like extend that logic to any kind of ridiculous extent. That's like saying, oh, any crime that's committed in your home is legal because, oh, well, how are you going to enforce it? You have to be able to come inside somebody's home. That's their home. Like, you can't, everything's legal in your home. That's such a horseshit argument. I can't believe he starts there, but let's just.
Don't want that.
What I want is that if there is a child who gets a hold of a weapon which was improperly stored in a home and ultimately kills themselves or someone else, that there's some legal ability to hold someone responsible for their total negligence in allowing that situation to unfold.
I actually do believe there is a negligence standard whenever somebody uses, a child doesn't, or whenever you improperly store your weapon. I've seen cases where
it depends on the state. It's state by state because not all states have these rules.
Right, but I'll give you another one. Private gun sales being passed towards another. That actually requires a universal registry of firearms. And so when you have a universal registry, that actually was the precursor in Australia for going and making sure that you could buy back everybody's guns. 3D printing is another one. Look, I mean, I know I might sound radical here, but part of the problem with all of these things is that when you put heavy amounts of enforcement, you give the ATF and other people more knowledge, you have more data.
So would you do anything?
Well, I mean, on the current one, I honestly just don't think that there is any.
So you think we just have to accept this is how it is? There's going to be school shootings. We're going to have mass violence. There's not, the suicide rate. I mean, that's terrible. Honestly, the mass shooter events are the hardest ones to disrupt. What I think you could have more of an impact on is domestic violence and suicide, where just having easy, immediate access to a firearm, no waiting period, no safe storage, the sort of accidents that all too often kill our children. Those are the sorts of things that I think you could more easily have somewhat of an impact on, but you just don't think it's worth it.
When it's not about worth it, it's about what's the cost. I mean, look.
That is literally the same thing, Saagar. You just changed our wording around. It's not about worth it. It's about what's the cost. Yeah, is the cost worth it, Saagar? What the fuck?
9/11 was a horrific tragedy, terrible event. 3,000 people were killed. Was it worth 20 years later giving up an immense amount of civil liberties? I have no idea what this country is going to look like in 20 years from now. I'm honestly not optimistic about it.
The Patriot Act and safe gun storage and universal background checks are not remotely
having lived in Washington, D.C. over the last couple of years and seeing the literal.
By the way, even if all of these, moderate gun reforms went into effect, that in no way would be infringing on our constitutional rights. The Second Amendment would still exist. You would still have the right to own a gun. There's a difference between taking away someone's rights and adding basic regulations for the same reason that people not being able to own a fucking bazooka is not an infringement on the Second Amendment. Basic moderate gun reforms that the majority of Democrats and Republicans support is also not an infringement on the Second Amendment. And also, let's be honest, the Second Amendment says you have the right to a well-regulated militia, not for any crazy random 18-year-old to go out and buy a fucking automatic rifle that they can then go commit massacres with. That's just a complete straw man.
Yep. And
down.
Just really quick, Dad. She gets him so bad when she just says, "So would you do anything?" And he can't say anything that he would do, and that is the exact position of basically every conservative that doesn't want to do anything related to like restricting control. Oh well, yeah, it's basically you're saying that I will, in order to maintain my right to do and live exactly the way I want, continue to watch children be sacrificed, continue to watch minorities be terrorized, continue to watch the elderly, all these other fucker people that have been victims of gun violence, right? Yeah, that's fine.
Of society, and then also seeing that a lot of people are okay with it, has made me so pessimistic and frankly more of a gun radical than I've ever been in my entire life. I literally do not trust the state to save me in any unsafe situation. That's literally where I'm at.
So you are now full.
And also, again, that's also a straw man. Instituting moderate gun reforms in no way would prevent you, Saagar, from defending yourself in the instance in which you need to. How is a red flag law or any other basic moderate gun reform going to prevent you, someone who clearly could pass a background test and could easily, get your hands on any gun you want? How is that going to stop you from defending yourself? I just don't get this logic. Like, no one's saying that we're going to ban guns. No one is saying that we're going to take every single gun that's out there. The proposals that are being offered are very, very moderate ones.
Yeah, my question for Saagar and everybody else who is like, well, what's going to happen when we're going to need our guns to protect ourselves, right? So it's like, do you know what kind of firepower the United States military has just in storage, bro? Like, you think the cops are militarized? Look at our fucking military. Now, Saagar, you're going to look me in the eye and you're going to tell me that over the course of the next 20 years, you think that you and all your right-wing cronies are going to stage a fucking coup against the United States military and the AR-15 is going to liberate you? You're fucking dumb. You're dumber than shit if you think that's going to happen. And I know Saagar's not dumber than shit, which means he can't possibly believe what he's saying right now. If you believe that to protect yourself from like fucking tyranny or whatever, like that bridge already fucking sailed, right? When we dropped the atomic bomb, right? The United States is never giving up its power. It will never allow the people to throw it violently. There's too many weapons here, and there's too much ironclad state control, and there's too much militarization of the police, all these kinds of things that, yes, we need to fucking find a way to solve democratically, because they will squash us like fucking ants.
And also, who's to say, some random fucking hillbilly's idea of government tyranny is the same as mine? The people on January 6th thought they were fighting back against government tyranny. Does Saagar think that all of them should have been armed with an AR-15 as they stormed the Capitol? Do you think that would have resulted in a better scenario than what did unfold? Come on, man. You think all these random gun nuts out here have a sound definition of resisting government tyranny? Come on, dude. Come on.
Libertarian.
I'm not libertarian. I mean, but that's in my entire life. I literally do not trust the state to save me in any unsafe situation. That's literally where I'm at.
So you are now full-on libertarian.
I'm not libertarian.
But that's what it sounds like. Because the problem is
on like individual safety. I want people to be able to empower themselves, because if you look around, if you live where we live, like I don't see how you can trust these people whatsoever.
So what were you
going to say?
Okay, I was just going to say that. Then do you want to defund the entire U.S. military? You don't trust, like, where's your line, Saagar? Because you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Like, you simp for the police like crazy. I have watched this man simp out of, like, pull my fucking hair out during George Floyd watching OG Rising. Like, what are you saying, right? Like, getting angry. I'm like, Krystal, how are you even fucking not just like fucking screaming at the top of your lungs right now? That kind of simping for the police, like the kind that makes my blood boil. And I'm like, do you need that boot surgically removed from your fucking mouth? Like, that salivating all over the cops fucking, and yet, I don't trust anybody to protect. No, okay, so are you behind defunding the police, Saagar, or do you want to give more and more taxpayer dollars, you fiscal conservative, to somebody that's not going to protect you, right? Like, come on, bro. Your argument is so lousy and brain dead that I'm surprised that it's coming for you, because normally I have higher standards from what you expect from Saagar. But this is just low IQ talking points that you would catch on Fox News.
It's total bullshit. And as someone pointed out very accurately, typical right-wing libertarian only against tyrannical police when it's in his favor. Saagar is someone that literally continues to argue, or at least the last time I heard him talk about it, continues to argue for the illegality of cannabis, for the prohibition of cannabis. So he's not a libertarian then. He thinks that, the government should be able to come to your house and fucking arrest you and lead to the most incarcerated nation in the entire fucking planet, thanks to the drug war. He doesn't have anything to say about that. But when it comes to instituting the most basic and moderate gun reforms, all of a sudden he's like, don't tread on me. But again, you have no problem with poor people, black communities being devastated by the drug war. That's somehow not government tyranny. That's somehow not government overreach. But when now it comes to guns, you're this fucking freedom-loving libertarian. No matter how many dead bodies pile up because of it, it's so inconsistent.
Massively inconsistent and maddening too. But yeah, that is a very like right-wing libertarian energy. Anyway, not everybody, right? Like Spike Cohen's really anti-police, and he's still got some crazy takes, but he is consistent at least.
Yeah, if you're consistent, I would have more respect for Saagar if he was consistent in his libertarian values. Again, if he was out here arguing to end the prohibition of drugs, for example, and then he also took this position, I would have a lot more respect for it because, again, at least that's consistent libertarian principle. This here is just picking and choosing based on, I don't know. I don't really understand how you could possibly argue this position, but not also against the prohibition of drugs or at least cannabis. I mean, come on. And also, yeah, this is a good point too, Brian. Thanks so much for the $4.99. Saagar is a drug warrior, and even against illegal porn. Yeah, he's fucking argued against porn too. So again, only a libertarian when it benefits him and the right-wing talking points he's arguing on behalf of.
Isn't he really good homies with JD Vance, actually? JD Vance has been going scorched earth. Like, it's not guns, it's pornography. I'm like, you are such a fucking idiot, dude. You are such a fucking idiot. But anyway, that's hilarious that, yeah, he thinks porn should be, or is it anti-porn? People who think, I mean, I don't know. Chris Hedges also thinks that. And I'm like, come on, bro, this is super aggressive. Let's just fucking porn. As long as everybody's being paid and nobody's being abused, let's just let people fuck on camera.
Yeah, no, that's totally ridiculous. And again, you cannot claim to have libertarian principles and then not support legal weed or fucking people's right to watch porn. It's so fucking selective.